So we're joined all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina by Bieisha Smith, owner, founder of Fasho Stylez, right there in the Queen City. Also, multiple business owner. We thank you so much for joining us today. We've got a room full here with us at Velma Jackson High School. It is our entrepreneurship class. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools, Madison Central High School, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, our YouTube channel. So thank you again for taking some time for us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to be here today.
All right. Now, you're originally from Charlotte,
Yeah,
and you did go to the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, but you didn't just go through a straight path, and you
no-
didn't just always be a business owner. So, just give us a little background on your on the type of background you have and how that kind of led to opening your own business a few years ago.
I took cosmetology in high school as a junior at West Charlotte. And I finished my cosmetology certificate um, at West Charlotte. Then I went further to work for Supercuts. And this was back in 97, 98. I didn't always want to be a hairstylist, but of course it just, life is life. And so I was a supervisor, I was a manager, then I went from a manager, well, I was assistant manager. I was assistant manager, then I was a manager. At such a young age, they put me up and I was a manager over two locations in
Wow.
my 20s. So I knew I wanted to go back to school because I got pregnant my first year in college. So that's why it was good for me to have this background to fall back on. Um, so I didn't finish college at that time, but I knew that I wanted to go back to school. So I did finally go back to school in 2022 and not 2022, I'm sorry, 2002 after having my second son. And I knew that I didn't want to do because I was going to school as law enforcement. So I knew I didn't want to do that no more. So I changed my path to communication, and I was doing communication as far as journalism. So that's where the journalism part came in, broadcasting. So as I was going through that track, I knew that I didn't want to do that. So it's okay to try different things. Okay. So I ended up getting a minor in journalism with a concentration of organization, and that's what I got my bachelor's degree at UNC Charlotte. And then along the way, I started working for myself. So I knew I wanted to be a business owner and I wanted to have multiple businesses. I then later went and got my notification, as a notary. Sorry, I went and got my notary license. And then when COVID hit, wasn't nobody doing notary because we couldn't go outside. So I got my e-notary. So I was like, I'm gonna make some money either way it go.
Yeah.
So I have that entrepreneurship spirit. So, which led me to have multiple businesses, being a notary, having that notary background, being a notary signing agent, as well as which a notary signing agent is going into notarizing mortgages. So I have that background as well as being a stylist, a barber stylist. In North Carolina, you can't have dual licenses, but I
Oh,
still try,
wow.
yeah, as a barber and a cosmetologist. So I still trained up on a barber. So I'm a barber stylist. So I know how to cut all types of hair. So that's why I named my business Fasho Stylez. For all styles have an opinion. That's what Fasho stands for. And yeah, so I have that as well as when I went back and got my master's degree. And in my master's degree is MBA with the concentration of management. So I have that background. So I'm just a person of many hats. Then after I got my master's degree, I went and got back and got my certification business consultant. So I'm also a certified business consultant as well as a business owner of two different businesses. And then if you can see my logo in the back, people was asking how could they train up under me. So I decided to start a nonprofit business. And so I have three businesses up under my belt now, um,
Wow.
which is I'm a mentor. So I help those who want to be barbers or stylists. Well, it's still undecided. I train them, and I also talk to them about things that I wish someone would have talked to me about, which was the business part of it. So
Yep.
how to lay your whole business out, not just do hair, but how to manage your money properly, how to save money, how to make sure you have insurance, business insurance. So I talked to them from the beginning to the end, not just being behind here. And I talked to them as a business owner, not to them as a worker. It's good to be a worker if that's what you choose to be, but always dream big to want to be your own boss. So there you
Big
have
time.
it.
Well, and I want to come back to that because you made a couple points I want to hit back on. But
Okay.
I want to talk briefly because right before you came on, I had a couple of kids here ask, well, what is a notary? So just
Mhm.
kind of talk about why that is needed because that's a good business to get into.
Yes.
Because at some point in your life, I can pretty much guarantee you're going to need some things notarized. So talk about a little bit how that works and why it is so needed, especially more in the Black community.
Well, a notary is pretty much as you're witnessing your signature is you witnessing two people coming into agreement of legal documents. And as a notary, each notary state has its own price. As of North Carolina, you can charge to $10 per signature per page. So imagine notarizing two documents with two people in front of you. So two documents, two people in front of you. Both of those documents need to be signed. If you do the math, that's $40 right there that you done made in what 15, 20 minutes. So the importance of being a notary, you you can also in the state of North Carolina, you can marry people. So if you need to, if you do get your license in state of South Carolina, and there's other states as well, but that's just one that you can also be an official married of people. And the importance of being a notary, that's your so side hustle. How important your signature is, very important. So and your documents are used in court. So it's very important to have that license. I went and got it. And then you read over, like I said, notary signing agent. I go out to people's homes. If they refinance their house, I just go over the information. I don't explain anything. I just go over it, see if they got any questions. If they have any questions, then I call the finance company right there in front of them. And I'm just a witness. I'm just that medium person
Yeah.
to just let them understand that it's a binding agreement between two people.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. And it's easy money, especially
Yep.
if you understand the law.
Yeah, and it is very important because it's been for decades, marginalized groups have been taken advantage of by some of these companies. So it's very important to have a diverse pool of notaries that understand all that. So there's a huge need for that everywhere, not just in North Carolina.
Absolutely.
Now you also, and I wanted to talk briefly also about your business consulting because a lot of the things you do there are things that we do in class. We just recently have done a couple SWOT analysis and
Good.
looked at mission and vision statements. So that's some of the things that your company does when some of these new businesses are starting out because they may have a great idea, they may have a great personality, they may have a great logo and great customer service, but all that groundwork has to be laid. So what are some of the important things that you help with as a business consultant?
As a business consultant, I go through, um, let me try to just narrow it down. Um, I go through, like you said, SWOT analysis. I go through, it's okay to be competitive, but also you need to know what your competitors are doing. So you can see what you can do different or what you can tweak and make it more better than what they're doing. Um, don't recreate the wheel. Don't make it try to be too much different. People like familiarity. People like honesty. People like transparency. So you have to build those relationships, and don't think that your family going to support you on that business end. Always get what you're worth. Don't go after, you know, so many discounts or so many. Use different marketing tools. I would say when you start in your business, like I tell my sons, I have two older sons, and tell them, what is it a problem that you can solve? that you think people will pay for. Don't make it too hard for yourself. If you're good at writing papers, then that's a problem that somebody else can't do. Charge to write papers. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Per paper. People was doing it when I was in undergrad. You know what I'm saying? I need help with writing this paper. This is the basis of what this paper is about. This is the objective, and this is what the teachers is looking for. You know, of course, you're gonna have to make it your own. You can't copy and paste everything, but find something that you're good at, problem solving, and make it a business. When you can, of course, you all did it in class. A SWOT analysis. You can do a SWOT analysis on your personal life. What's your weaknesses? You know what I'm saying? What are your strengths? What is your opportunity? What's the threats of keeping you getting where you need to be? And then do it in your business.
Absolutely.
What's the strengths? What are your strengths? What is the opportunities? You know, what is your weaknesses? I know I'm saying the acronyms backwards, but you know, what is the threat? You know, so it's always good to revisit it every 6 months, every year.
Yeah.
Set small goals, short-term goals, long-term goals, you know, and then put end dates on them. Don't, when you set those dates, put expiration dates on them. You know, when you want to have this completed. And don't be so hard on yourself, because sometimes you can be, as business owners, being hard on yourself. If you don't meet that goal by this certain day, push the date back. You know, make sure you're always revisiting it. And it's good to look at your competitors, because for the simple fact, like I just said earlier, you can see what you can do different, or you can make it better.
That's crazy you're saying all this. This is all the stuff we've been talking about in class. So it's perfect timing on this.
No.
Now, I wanted to go back to something you said a minute ago about with your business, with your hair business, you can do anybody's hair. And I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because I say this to kids all the time that say they want to do hair because I think that's great. You know, it's a business that's never going to go away. It's getting more and more advanced. But I always tell them, find a way to where you can do anybody's hair, no matter what color they are, no matter what gender they are. The more customers you can serve, the bigger your brand's going to be and the more money you can make. And I know even just on some of your YouTube shorts, you have males and females in your chair. And if you were
Yeah,
working at Great Clips and Supercuts, you were cutting everybody's hair. So I just think that's so important when it comes to wanting to reach a market. You don't need to limit yourself when you live in a diverse area.
absolutely. I feel as though whatever your craft is, find out what your weaknesses are. You don't necessarily have to do it, but know how to, the starting point and your ending point. Like my weakness was at the time flat tops. So I was like, okay, most of these men coming in here want flat tops, because I was in the military area at one time. I was like, okay, it's gonna be a day that stylists that know how to do flat tops ain't gonna be here. So let me at least practice. So
Yeah.
as I was good at it, I started doing them often. Then when I moved to another area where they weren't doing flat tops as much, then it was like, anybody know how to do a flat top? And I was like, that's my opportunity to shine in that salon. So I said, I know how to do a flat top. They're like, yeah, because we don't know how to do no flat top. I went and did that flat top. This man gave me a $20 tip. He was like, I can't find nobody to do a flat top in this area. So you never know where you're gonna be needed at. So it's always good to learn everything, even if you might not be doing it. So yeah, even with the barbers, the black barbers, they were like, you know how to cut straight hair? And I'm like, straight hair, what that mean? I said, I could not cut all types of hair. He was like, well, we don't cut many Caucasian people hair, but then when they come in, we don't be knowing what to do. So I was like, yeah, I can show y'all how to do that. So it was one day that we wasn't doing too much in the barbershop. It was a barbershop above the salon that I was working in. And I went up there and I had a mannequin head, and I was showing them pretty much how to cut. I said, this is not just straight hair. It's not just on Caucasians. You got straight hair on Asians. You got straight hair on some Latinos. You got to learn how to cut all types of hair and know how to blend correctly.
Absolutely. Now, and again, and we've had some students that have come through this school and this class that have gone into cosmetology. and some that are just doing the side hustle, some doing the braiding and things like that.
Yeah.
But a common mistake that I see with so many young business owners, especially in this field, is they start doing it. They're really good at it. They put the pictures out. They've got the brand. They've got clientele. And I immediately say, you're not charging enough. And we're
Right.
getting ready to do a project on that. So, what are some ways you can determine a proper price? Because I just see so many people that are working themselves ragged and they don't have really any profit to show for it. And that's a very common mistake. So, just talk about how to overcome that because I see it more and more often.
I'm gonna tell you, I was in that same rut, that same mindset, not charging enough. But I was charging for the area that I was in. So I was trying to make sure I met the pricing for the area I was in. So I would say go to the area that you deserve. You know, you want to charge more because if you discount yourself, you're gonna discount yourself out of business. If you don't charge what you're worth, then you're gonna feel burnt out and you're gonna feel like this business really ain't for you and you need to go somewhere else. And you I don't had
Yeah.
that mindset. So I would say go to the area, go to the location, and look at their prices. Even if you're going in as a customer, because you're gonna always be a customer, no matter what business you're in. You're a customer first. So you're gonna always be a customer. So go in there as a customer, look at their prices, see what they charging. Charge your worth. Don't ever undercharge yourself. Now, if you want to do specials, like today is Veterans Day, if you wanna charge because of certain seasons, then do that. Charge those prices, but don't ever undercharge yourself because you're hurting yourself at the long run. And guess what? If they don't pay it with you, they're gonna pay it with somebody else.
Yeah. Now, something else, before I get to their questions, something else you mentioned, and I think this is important, because you spent a lot of years working in the salon industry before opening your own, and you talked
Right.
about it's okay to be a great worker because you can think like an entrepreneur and be a fantastic employee. Employers are always looking to hire people like that, but I hear more and more people say it's good to work in a business first before you just jump into it. So you had years of salon experience before you ever opened your own shop. So how
Right.
important is it to learn a business before you jump into it?
Let me tell you this. It's very important. I'd rather learn up under somebody and let them use their money, because that's what business is all about, using somebody else's money. It's like business credit. Using somebody else's money versus using your money and making all these mistakes and losing money in the process of you making these mistakes. And then it's very important to get you a mentor. So if you have a mentor and they're showing you the wheel, they're showing you from the beginning, they can show you all the mistakes that they're made. So now you done cut down on time and you're not losing as much money. So it's very important. Don't nobody know nothing at the beginning. Somebody had to learn something from someone. So somebody seen greatness in me for them to put me in charge of their business, right? So, but I still had to learn from up under them what to do and what not to do. So it's very important. I wouldn't recommend nobody just to jump out there and just start working for yourself because you hurting yourself more than you helping yourself. And you're gonna waste a lot of time and a lot of money and you're gonna get very frustrated very quickly.
Yeah, and I always tell the story. I know they get sick of hearing it, but there's another friend of this class that's a doctor here in Jackson, and she was winning national awards, just unbelievable patient care. So she decides to open her own practice, and she said, "I didn't have a clue. I learned how to take care of patients, but I didn't know how to run a business." Now she's
Right.
very successful, but she said my learning curve was greater than anything I could have ever expected. So it's very important to learn the business side of things
Absolutely.
on top of the product or service because that is just you're gonna have to know some accounting. If not, you're gonna have to hire somebody to do it for you. They're not going to teach you about business taxes in cosmetology school. So knowing those things is what sets apart the great entrepreneurs and the average entrepreneur.
Absolutely. I mean, when I was in undergrad at UNC Charlotte and I was learning the organization part of the business, I was like, wow, I didn't even think about it like that. You know, I was thinking about it as a worker. I didn't think about it as an entrepreneur. So it does allow you to see it in a more broader perspective versus just working as a worker. Again, even though I was working in and I seen the management part of it, and I knew what the numbers looked like as a manager. I didn't know what the numbers looked like as an owner. Like you got to go out, you got to look at different locations because you're working with a certain amount of money, and they're expecting you to pay that money back when you start taking loans out and opening a business. When you create a business plan, they want to know how you gonna make this money back in this amount of time.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure you look at all that on a broader perspective, not as a worker, but as an owner. And some things that you might want to say, oh, I want to bring my friends and my family on. You got to cut your friends and your family up. Yes, it's hard doing business with friends and family because they don't want to be treated as a worker. They want to be treated as an owner because you're an owner. But you can't treat them like that because this is your business. This is your vision. You know where you're going. You know how you want to run it. And you need to, that's why it's important to have a mentor. We get caught up emotionally when it comes down to business. You got to take in the business part of it, you got to take your emotions out of it. Now, if you're in a work relationship, okay, that's where emotional intelligence come in at. Okay, that's when you're it's a manager to a coworker, emotional intelligence. You got to learn how to understand where your work is coming from, learn how to work with them. But as an owner, you don't run in your emotions. You run your business in logic.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that too. I was a huge fan of the show Duck Dynasty, and I know it's just a TV show and it was for laughs. But he used to always say, "I can't fire any of you because you're all related to me." So it's tough when you have your family there because you know it's a lot harder to fire a family member than that's not doing the job than somebody that was an employee. So that is a very great point. I'm glad you said that.
Right. Because at the end of the day, if you're not meeting them numbers as far as paying your vendors back, you're not meeting those numbers as making sure you keep your overhead, your lights, and your stuff on. They'll walk away. They'll be like, "It's your business. You figure it out." That's when they walk away. But when you're meeting those numbers and you don't have that emotional attachment, and you looking at, okay, if these numbers don't be met and I can't pay y'all, then the doors is gonna close. And then what? That's gonna be my learning curve.
Yeah.
That's why it's important not to do business with.
I agree. Well, I do have some questions from the students, and I'll get to as many of these as I can. And I actually have all young men in here with me today.
Okay.
But they're asking some really good questions. This first one is Edward Flowers. He's in 10th grade. They're all in 10th grade too. He's in
Good.
10th grade. He's a member of our band, and he asked, "Owning three businesses, does it ever get overwhelming?"
Yes. And I look at it like this because I've had that question asked before. So good question. I look at it like this. If you have three children, right? They all need to be fed. They all have different needs that need met. What are those needs that need to be met? And what are the trends? This one gonna outgrow their clothes on this day. This part of the year, this one gonna have band on this part. So you got to buy band uniforms for this one. You got to make sure that you're meeting those needs daily. Meaning I gotta check in with each of those businesses. I gotta see what's needed for each of those businesses daily. Just like each child, I got to see what each of my children need daily. I can't just ignore one child because I'm talking to this child, or this child needs me this day. As a parent, whenever you become a parent, that's how you got to look at your businesses. These are your children. These are your babies.
Yeah. I like this
So,
one. This is to Bieisha Smith. He's also a member of our band. And he asked, "I have locks, and I was wondering what your price range was. My mother wants to get into business for locks, and I would like to help her decide a price range."
okay, so I tell people with the locks, you go from the length of the hair. And then not only you do from the length of the hair, short to medium, medium to long, long to extreme long. That's how you start your pricing. And then far as retwists, and then far as starting your locks, that's gonna be a whole different range. So for the locks before starting retwist and you got short hair, I charge at $60. That's short hair. And that's retwist. So you can kind of look at people in your area. How much do they charge for short locks? How much do they charge for medium locks? How much do they charge for long locks? And then that's how you do your range. Look at, always start in your area, what they charge in your area.
Also, absolutely. I've got two more. This is Tyler Myers, one of our football players here, and he
Mhm.
asks, "Has anybody ever come into your line and asked for a crazy hairstyle that you maybe couldn't do?"
Yeah. And what I would say couldn't do, I would try to recommend something. I would give them different choices, but if they do come in there, you give people what they will ask for. Cause get why? They're the customer. They paying you. So even if you don't want to do it, do it. Cause they're paying you. And then if they don't like it after you do it, guess what? That's another price. You always give your professional opinion when they ask for a style. They still want to do it, do it. Because at the end of the day, they're the customer, they're paying. No customer's not always right, but at least you did tell them your professional opinion.
Absolutely. I just got time for one more. This is Herbert Carmichael. He's very interested in getting into the gaming industry, and he's already come up with a really good concept. But he asked, "What has been the hardest thing for you to learn in opening a business?"
The hardest thing, ooh, it's a lot. The hardest thing is for me to learn is who are my audience? Who is my target audience? Because everybody ain't your client. Everybody ain't your audience. Go for the, like you said, gaming. Who would monetize off the most? Everybody ain't your customer, and be okay with that. And charge your
Oh,
price,
big
not
time.
their price.
Absolutely. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for joining us. But a couple things before we go. First of all, tell us where to find you on Instagram. You got a lot of social media content out there.
I do. I end up one of my pages end up getting hacked. And they took over. But and that's another thing. Make sure you don't share too much of your information because people are always imitating. But you can always find me on Fasho Stylez, Fasho Stylez, LLC, or you can just follow me on Bieisha, Bieisha Smith, Smith, or you can, if you want, you can email me if you have more questions at contact at Fasho Stylez. Uh, was it at www.com. You can also go on my website is fashostylez.com as well.
Now, the last thing before we go, and like I mentioned, I have all young men in here with me today. And as a mother of two black men,
Mm-hmm.
and with all these black men I have here with me today, and I know they get sick of me talking about this, but it is just so important. Why do we need more black male leaders in our community?
Because you are, no matter what, you are the head of the household. You are the head of the house, and you have to be purpose driven. You got to know who you are as an individual. You got to know your morals and your beliefs. And when you're the leader of the house, guess what? The women and the children must follow. We can't follow something that if you don't know where you're going. And and most importantly, love you, flaws and all. Love yourself.
Love it. Well, again, we thank you so much for fitting us in your busy schedule. Bieisha Smith, all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina, for Show Styles. We appreciate you taking some time for us today.
I appreciate you all. Y'all have a good day now.
I talk to you soon, buddy.
Bye bye.